introduce ourselves, and then we'll just take it from there. I might think of something that we can start talking about, or
Whenever you're ready.
are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay, hello. Thank you very much indeed for downloading this. If you downloaded the last one, that happened around about 1875. There were candles and horse-drawn carriages, so sorry that the second one's taken a bit of time. But it's Tommy here. Matt is going to be looking after the techniques. We're sat in a pub. It's a bit empty. There are no drunks. We'll get there.
Not yet.
It's a lovely woodeny pub, same one that we did the previous pubcast in. Mark is here.
Hello.
And Fiona.
Hello.
And Jason.
Hello.
And Fiona and Jason are partners.
Oh.
And known to people who listened to any of the rubbish that we did at Play Radio some time ago. And you drove here. Are you sufficiently deep in your relationship to have arguments every time you drive somewhere together?
We had an argument today, didn't we?
What about?
About the music, the direction, and stopping for petrol.
Yes, apparently I was sending him a message by playing Good Tradition of Love and Hate. Are you sending me a message?
Is that Tanita Tikarum? I can never. Tikarum or Tikarum? So
I don't think it matters.
Calling kind of crested in life. So.
But you do, don't you? Cars are interesting places. You generally can find something to niggle about.
Yeah, and the second one I think was Jason not paying attention to the sat-nav because, as always, he knows best.
Oh, there's nothing better than being the passenger with the map. I went up to Liverpool and back the other day, and I was trying to beat the sat-nav nerd. And occasionally I'd go, OK, we stay on this road for 2 miles. And then this voice would cut in and go, stay on this road for 2 miles. And I go, yeah, come on, bring it on.
I know how to get to Chichester from Brighton. It's only the end bit that we needed.
Yeah, it's the last little wiggle, isn't it, when you're going somewhere?
But have you ever been used to kind of driving a certain route over months or years, and then finally you get a sat nav and you just have it on, and it gives you a much better shortcut? Like if you'd have known, saved you hours of petrol and time and effort if you'd have just thought about it.
Well, when I first got the sat nav, I was always envious of the reps that had sat navs and mobile phones and all sorts of gizmos attached to their windscreen, and I thought I want that. And so when I got the sat nav, even though I was going on the same journey, I used to put it on and have my mobile phone clamped to the window as well, so I could look like I was, and my jacket hanging up in the back.
Jacket hanging on a coat hanger. So they used to be the worst driver's sales reps with the jacket hanging in the.
But it's a try
in the back window. I tell you, it's funny, I think life's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I've never forgotten this. One of the first copies of Mayfair I ever bought, I don't know how old I was, had a cartoon in it, and it was meant to be about how dire television.
Can I just stop it? Is Mayfair, is that the naughty
It's the
man?
one, yeah, it's the naughty one with the girls who look like supermarket checkout girls, as opposed to Penthouse, which is the naughty one with girls who look like they work at Stringfellows.
Really naughty. It's,
Not really.
It's in a second level of naughtiness.
Mayfair's the one with a little dead behind the eyes, you know, that kind of.
Yeah.
Escort and Razzle were the ones who really want as a child.
Sorry, Tommy.
No, I was going to say,
moving on, yeah.
we could stay with soft pornography, as
Gentle pornography.
after a few beers, male conversation turns to sex, and sex. But if a woman walks in, we pretend we're talking about life and the
I think
meaning
we finished
of the
off with
universe.
lesbians last time.
There
didn't
you
we?
are.
Excellent.
There you are.
So we can
What a great
pick
place
that
to
up again.
start.
At some
No, what I was
point.
going to say was there was a cartoon in this that I've never forgotten, because there was this bloke, his wife said, what's on television? And it was about how rubbish television was, and this would have been about 1973. And he said, well, on the BBC there's a programme about growing melons. And on ITV there's a programme about the quickest route from Staines to Chichester. Right? And I've never forgotten that, because I was born in Staines, now I live in Chichester. So I wonder if life... Yeah, well, but why couldn't I have taken my inspiration from an epic as opposed to a cartoon in Mayfair? You know, if I'd read something by Dante, then... And that had given me my sort of geographical orbit. Where are you from, Jace?
Fulham.
Fulham.
Cranley Place.
I know it.
Well,
I know Cranley Place.
South Kensington, actually.
Yeah, no, I know that neck of the woods. I used to be a Fulham supporter, so I used to go past top of your road shouting.
Did you?
every
nice
other Saturday
place.
afternoon.
Who do you support now, if anyone?
Football.
Do you have a team?
No, I like football. I like to see Portsmouth do all right. I always love Fulham, because you do. Spurs, because I quite like them when I was little.
So I would have thought you'd be a Brentford lad, really, given...
I used to go to Brentford when Fulham were away. And that was just a fun experience. All the things. Brentford is one of those funny... Brentford is now wholly owned by the fans.
Is it?
This is coming.
Yeah.
Exeter also. Wholly, and by the time people listen to this, which of course it could be the year 2050. So I always say this, the thing about the internet, you can't escape the fact that somebody could be listening to this in a million years' time.
Timeless.
Yeah, I know. It's unlikely.
Anyway, I was very disappointed when my parents sold the house.
Go on.
Well, just because I thought that was going to be mine, and I was going to have SW7 as my postcode.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, but SW7 sings, whereas the full postcode of where you used to live wouldn't. Isn't it?
SW7 is, the postcode to have, isn't it? There's SW1 and SW... This is London Century.
Sorry.
Yes.
A monetisation idea. You know they sell off number plates. Why don't people... Couldn't they sell off personalised postcodes?
That's a good idea.
So you could actually have, PEN15.
What would you have?
PEN15. No, I don't know.
That's a good idea. When did you come up with that idea?
Just then, when you were
now?
talking. Yeah, whilst I was listening to you.
It's impressive.
Yes. Thank you
You've
very much.
got a penis reference.
Oh, yeah.
Well done.
So anyway, cheers, everybody. Now, Fiona's drinking Budweiser by the neck.
I am.
Jason's on a pint of Headbanger.
Is it called Headbanger?
I think it's the strong lager.
Is it really? I didn't want
Matt,
the
who's
song
not
line.
going to say anything because he's busy doing a sung crossword. Thanks, Matt. How interesting is this podcast going to be if you find it more interesting to try the sun crossword and you'll have to shout?
5 down, 4 letters. Isle of Napoleon's exile.
Elba.
Thank you.
Able was I ere I saw Elba.
Not just a pretty face.
That's the world's longest palindrome.
Not even.
Not even a pretty face.
I was just thinking while you were going around the table looking what everyone was drinking.
Yeah?
Does your mood and how you dress and, I don't know, what sort of the character, I guess, that you're being that day, does that determine what you order at the bar?
Well, I'm drinking now, so mind your own business, bitch.
Nice.
You're always on my case.
We're picking up the tempo now. This is much better, guys.
Nag, nag, nag.
That's my job.
What was the question?
I've forgotten.
Well, I don't know. Men and beer. I tend to like to say that I drink Guinness or Scotch or red wine in the winter, and lager. I never drink white wine because that's not alcoholic, is it?
Only mildly.
That's about the size of it. But I'm feeble, and this bloke once at a meeting, we went all around the room, everybody expressing their point of view, and when it came to the last bloke, he said, well, my trouble is I always agree with the last thing I've heard. And I thought, yeah, I'm like that. So actually, if I'm at the bar and I'm 3 blokes and they all go, pint a bit, pint a bit, pint a bit, pint a bit.
Yeah, but, if I was going out, I don't know, with perhaps a group of girls, somewhere nice, a wine bar, or, no, okay, not specifically a wine bar, but I'd probably order a glass of wine. But because I'm sat in a pub
I see.
with 4 guys,
Geezers.
I've got a bottle of beer.
They were
Yeah.
making a point.
But that wasn't... No, but
Can
that
I,
wasn't deliberate. That
sorry.
wasn't a conscious
Oh, right,
decision.
okay.
Can I ask you a question? Because I think it's really interesting to watch the way people neck a bottle of beer. So, Fiona, could you just neck it? Hold on. The right hand goes round the... And she actually puts all lips around.
There's a bit of a thing because the last podcast
Would we?
how would you hold it? I think.
Oh,
Remember that?
how would hold the penis
So
if
there's a
you're
very slight
urinating?
association.
I
Yeah,
can't
no,
do
we're
that
not
one.
No, it's just
drawing in
interesting
the
that... No,
female
it
reference
is,
to
because, Jason, you wouldn't drink from a bottle of beer.
Never.
You wouldn't put all...
Oh,
never.
sorry.
But if you were forced to, because a new law was passed by the coalition... You wouldn't drink it like that, would you? Men don't drink beer from the bottle in the way that Fiona did. Yeah, you see, you've got
I'm
the
pushing.
the trumpeter's upper lip. If that were a trumpet, you could have got a note out of that bottle. He's just done
Right.
it.
Good point.
Whereas, do yours again, Fiona, if you don't mind his germs.
Well, now...
No, she gives it the full French kiss. Look, watch. See what I'm saying?
Yes. In there.
See what I'm saying?
And there's no spillage. I'm quite
Well,
impressed how you've managed to.
Never in
You
spinning.
spot that? I've never noticed that. Ever.
Well, I'm afraid to say I'm a white wine drinker occasionally. It's not a very good habit, and no one's looking at me kind of very judgmentally. No, and I like white wine, but it does get you pissed quite quickly.
It does.
So I've got a new technique.
Bad
A little bit
hangover.
I'm going to stand a little bit of lemonade on top of it.
Really?
Just, fools it out a little bit.
A wine top.
A wine top, you could say. It's very nice, very refreshing.
A spritzer then, really.
Do you know the
Not
worst
quite a
thing?
spritzer,
Yeah,
not
that's
quite a spritzer.
interesting.
Came
How,
halfway through.
shall I tell you the worst way I cheat on my wife?
Come on. You cheat on your wife?
The worst way I cheat on my wife.
Oh, right.
And I don't do it very often, but occasionally I do. Right? We're drinking a bottle.
Wine.
What?
I thought you said cheat on your wine.
Cheat on my wife.
Ah, no, I was...
Well, I cheat on my wine as well. It's like this. If we're in the garden having a drink, and I know that there's about a glass and a half of wine, red wine, left in the bottle in the kitchen, right? I go to her, should we finish it off? And she always goes, oh yeah, go on, might as well. So I go back in, right, and I think, well, if I do this equally, we're only going to get about half a glass of wine each. And I love her enough to give myself a full glass of red wine. She gets about an inch and a bit, and I top it up with tap water.
Yes.
Because once she's had a couple,
That's almost as bad as
she
proper
doesn't
cheating,
know.
actually.
She
yeah.
doesn't know. And that's how I cheat on my wife.
But we have that
And that's the
problem
worst thing I do.
Naughty.
with crisps.
Go on.
If you buy, luxury crisps, for instance, Nando's Peri Peri chicken crisps, which are like,
The best.
sex chips. If you get, if it's in between you on the sofa and you get to the bottom,
Yeah.
big handful, and leave you with the... Mind you, you're pretty bad for that as well, aren't you?
No, but it's only because you've got a big mouth and you take big handfuls and shovel big loads
But
in.
according to you, I've got little hands.
Yeah,
You
well,
mentioned the word sofa. I'm just going to start a little new topic here. What is the strangest thing you've ever found down the back of your partner's or family
My wife.
relatives' sofa?
Actually,
Full circle back to your wife.
when she was a bit trimmer. No. Hello.
We've definitely started now. Press record, please, mate. What have you found down the
I
sofa?
don't know. What have you found?
it's usually
Fiona, sorry.
coins and cereal,
But
cornflakes.
that's not strange.
No, I know it's not.
Roman coins would be more interesting. Matt,
I don't think I've ever looked down the back of my sofa.
No.
missing out.
No.
Mystery hair.
Mystery hair.
Yeah.
Mystery hair.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of hair down there,
Yeah.
and you can look at your hair, and that's not my hair, and it's neither your hair. Whose hair is it?
Oh, it might be a mystery to you.
Much like that Holiday Inn pen that I found on the kitchen. I found a Holiday Inn pen, a Holiday Inn Express pen on the kitchen counter today.
And is this an issue?
Well, I just thought that she
not
should have
for
been a bit
me.
more careful.
You see,
Don't bring the stationery back.
the author
Found a
John,
Mayfair down the back of my
Pay in
sofa.
cash.
yes, the author John Mortimer said a marriage breakup is like the crack on a kitchen ceiling. You don't notice it until it has become inexorable. But
I like that.
it always starts in a certain place. And it could be the
Probably the same
Holiday Inn pen.
as memory loss and dementia as well.
Well, we was talking a little bit about memory loss
Yeah.
because I've often said, how do we know that we haven't got memory loss? All of us, because we've lost our memory on it. So we wouldn't remember.
I remembered what you
How
were
would you
saying.
know?
If you'd have said it a week ago, I
But
probably
supposing
wouldn't
we all forget the same things.
Ah, yes, that is the Socratic problem.
have- Socratic problem. I like that. It's almost as good as sex chips.
Socratic problem?
Yes.
Go on.
It's the point that you can argue and argue and argue down and boil it down, and there's never any answer. Because, as I'm sure you're aware, old Socrates, his what do you call it? His talent was to argue
Yes.
until there was nothing left to argue about.
You mean Socratic problem?
Yes.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Well, he must have been a very irritating bloke, though, wasn't he? Because somebody would say to him, good morning, and he'd say, well, what do you mean by that?
I
Well,
do
what
like
exactly
him,
do you mean? What is your,
I like the fact that he
Boil it
wrote
down.
nothing.
wrote nothing?
Was it Socrates who coined the term or the phrase, a man without love is like a man without one of his limbs?
No, that was Lionel Richie.
Okay. Well, he was the crack on the ceiling, wasn't he? So There you go. Memory loss, though. It's an interesting.
Isn't Lionel Richie making a comeback with some sort of TV commercial?
Crisp adverts.
Is it a crisp advert with going
the sex chip?
How desperate is he? He can't be that desperate, can he? Surely to do Walker's crisp adverts. I mean, it's not paying him more than $100,000, is it, to do an advert? Surely not.
Yeah, but sometimes doing a... Matt?
It's a multi-million-pound contract for Gary Lineker, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's getting quite a bit out of it.
You think he's getting more than $100,000 per ad? Cash? Netto?
Do you know one of the best ads I've seen for a long time? It's off now, but I'll always love it. Burt Reynolds. I think he's advertising gas. Have you seen it? Burt Reynolds.
I think so. Remind me.
Oh, it's great because it just starts with this. He's at camera and he just goes, Burt Reynolds, the moustache, the fake hair, a baseball jacket, and he just looks at the camera and he just goes, obviously I'm Burt Reynolds. Which is really good because everybody has to identify themselves in this day and age, on your own show and whatever, but he just went, obviously I'm Burt Reynolds.
I'm a sex chip.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be nice to be Burt Reynolds?
No.
You don't think so? You don't think Burt
Get on with
Reynolds
the
had
crossword.
an amazing life?
16 across, 6 letters, ancient English kingdom ends in A.
A?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
How many letters?
6.
6?
So it's not such a stupid crossword now, is it?
Where's it
Pretty
from?
good for the sun, actually.
Is it the Sun?
Yeah, it is. Coffee time. I'll give you the cryptic one if you want. Ancient English kingdom appears in commercial.
Appears in commercial?
Yeah.
Ancient English kingdom appears
Camelot.
in commercial.
No.
Mercia?
The what?
Mercia.
There you go.
Well done. Yeah, nice.
I knew that as soon as he said it, but I didn't want to show
So
it.
Fiona and I are really the odd ones out. We haven't actually solved the crossword problem yet. You two have done rather well, but I feel quite left out.
When
have an easy one?
When I used to go up to London on the train every bloody day, I used to sit first class, and I used to like it because I looked as though I couldn't afford the ticket, and the blokes were all hoping that I'd get my ticket clipped and I'd be thrown out. And I used to dress down deliberately because they were all sat there with their Daily Telegraphs and their suits. And then the guy would come along, tickets please, and I knew they were all thinking, oh good, we're going to get rid of this little shit. I'd hand over my first class ticket and I'd go, oh fuck, the world's going to pot. Little tossers like him can go first class. Anyway, for a period of time there was this black bloke. I only mention it because he was. And he used to get in, and he used to do the Daily Telegraph quicker than it crossword. Like that. He'd just sit there going. And sometimes he'd look up and suck the end of his biro and go, oh yeah. And then one day he accidentally or on purpose left his Daily Telegraph behind. And one of the blokes had a look at the crossword. And he was just filling in letters.
No.
Yeah, he was just writing any old letter in.
Oh, that's really sad.
No, not really. He was having the same joke against them that I was, I think.
You talk about being on a train. Last time I saw you, you mentioned you were on a train from Brighton to London, early morning, going to LBC or wherever you worked for the early morning shift, and there was a woman who was stalking you on the train. I think it was just you and her, and you had to move along the carriages.
Correct.
What happened there?
I got on the train at Brighton. It was the milk train, 2:10 out of Brighton station in the morning to get into Victoria about 4:30 because I was doing the breakfast show, editing it. And there was a kerfuffle at the ticket barrier before I got on the train, but I was the only person on the train, always. Who else would be on the 2:10 a.m. out? Anyway.
Coming back, yes.
Coming back, yes. They called it the milk train, probably I don't know, because the early morning milk. Anyway, so I'm sat there on your own, and if you get on a train and there's like 2 possible carriages you could sit in, and one's got a solitary other person in it, and the other one's empty, which one do you always go to?
The empty one.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
If you're sat on an entire train and there's only one other person on it, what sort of person goes and walks the length of the train, finds the only other person who's on it, and sits next to it? Next to it. Anyway, to cut a long story short, after about 5 minutes of conversation, she said to me, I'll never forget this, she went, would you like to lie on top of me?
Oh no.
Which is not a great line. And I said something along the lines of, would you excuse me? And I went and hid in the toilet. I ran the length of the train and the last gents and the toilet, and I locked myself in. After about 10 minutes later I heard, and and then it stopped outside my toilet door, and I heard, "I know you're in there.
That's so freaky.
I know you're in there." And then we pulled up into Gatwick, and we were in Gatwick a long time, about 10 minutes. So I crept out, and I looked out the toilet. I'm hiding from a woman. I'm 24.
You're hiding.
I've got all my powers.
What did this? How old was this woman?
She's about 30.
Attractive?
On a dark night after about 6, no, actually. But anyway,
Did she look normal? I mean,
not
did
quite.
She...
No,
Okay.
no. But the reason it's interesting is that the police were at Gatwick. There were 15 coppers waiting for her at Gatwick because they called ahead from Brighton because of what she'd done at Brighton. What God knows what that was. And then we're still sat on the train, and they've got her off the train, and I'm still sat on the train thinking I'm going to miss the start of the show. And a police woman got on because they'd obviously had to include a police woman in this arrest because it was a female who was under suspicion. The police woman got on, and it was obvious that they really wanted to throw the book at her because the police woman sat next to me and she said, "Can I ask you some questions about the passenger who's just been removed from the train?" I said, "Go on." She said, "Has she been a nuisance or accosted you or assaulted you in any way?" I said, "Well, yeah, she was actually. She was definitely, chasing me up and down the train."
Well,
I said, and then the police woman said to me, "Would you prefer charges of attempted rape?" Attempted rape. And I'm looking at my watch thinking, actually, I've just got to go to work because I'm only getting £17.50 a shift, which will give you some idea of how long ago it was or what cheap bastards LBC are. But I went, no, I don't want to press charges. They wanted to put her away for whatever reason.
I think you're a bit hard to say that, you should have just said no. She didn't bother. How could she bother? All she did was offer you an enticing proposition.
But you don't know what she'd done before, then.
No, but,
She frightened me.
Capable.
She frightened me. Supposing she
Why did she
shouted
frighten?
rape.
Why did she frighten you?
Why did she frighten me?
Because all she said was, "I want to lie on top of you."
She asked me to lie on top of her.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not
But then
frightening.
running up and
Because she
down
wasn't
the
doing a
carriage,
crossword, I think.
but running up and down the carriage, I think it would freak you
No.
out.
She walked towards the toilet and knocked on the door. Now that's
That
no
wouldn't freak
worse.
you out,
That
then.
is all those things that woman did to Tommy. I.e., let me say to you, I want to lie on top of you, and knocking on a toilet door is no worse than I've done to many women.
Have you
in
ever
the
been
past.
stalked, Jason?
Yes. Oh yes.
By whom?
I won't give her name out because in case she's married now and we've got children. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Properly stalked.
Yeah, but I did egg the pudding by banging her a couple of times as an emergency shag.
Yeah.
She was available.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then, so that kind of...
We
long
didn't-
before you. I'm going back 20 years. She was older than me. She'd be about 55 now.
What constitutes the emergency?
Well,
Got a hard on.
Hard on. It's Friday
Yeah,
night.
but I know that,
Quick phone
physiological
call away.
kind of factors.
She lived
but
in Elephant and
psychologically
Castle.
speaking.
And I lived in Chelsea, so she was only 10, 15 minutes away, and I never went to her. So, that's an emergency.
probably
What do you mean you never went to her?
I never went to her place. She always came
She
to
always
my
came to your
place.
place.
Yeah.
And you knew there would be no strings
Yeah,
attached.
and
she
she'd
wouldn't,
go
she wouldn't
afterwards,
want
yeah.
breakfast.
No, she wanted to,
She just like.
be a limpet and marry me and everything.
Oh, right.
But, I'd shuffle her out the door, and then she used to, she found out where my parents lived and started harassing them. So at that point, I decided that...
That's not good.
No, she was just, a bit delusional, that's all.
I think you'd be a bit freaked out on a train, on a lonely train, with a woman following you up a carriage into the toilet.
I did when I was taking this woman viewing. She was a very strong woman. Took her viewing. She's strong. She had big bones. And I remember I was driving the car down Leighton High Road. She put her hand on my leg like this.
With a slap.
Yes, the hotel over there, no strings. A woman gets horny sometimes in their life. And I looked at her and I thought, nah. Now, it's not worth it. You could be a plant or anything, And then when I took her upstairs in the house, the vendors were downstairs, bear in mind. She got on her hands and knees and initiated doggy style in the middle of the vendor's bedroom. Just like that. Huge bottom stuck in the air. I was like, I like it hard. And then for one moment, as I took her back into the car, I thought, I've got the keys to an empty property. Do I take her home and deliver her near her house, or do I take her to the empty property?
And?
I took her home.
Why?
Well, because, I was doing quite well at that time in my life, and I thought, I'm dropping to Division. I'm going to see Exeter play.
Yes. And it's a magnificent... What?
I'm going to see... It'd be like, shopping in your season ticket for Arsenal and going to see... not Leicester, sorry, Exeter.
No offence to wholly fan-owned Exeter, but... Yeah. Also, I think men need to reach that point at some point during their sexual exploration of the world. They gain great satisfaction from knowing that they're going through a phase whereby they're having to beat off women with a shitty stick. Yeah, they can't shag all the women who want it from them, and it's a little window that hopefully all of us can
pass through,
can have in our memoirs, in our mental memoir, aide de memoire.
Absolutely. That and the Russian architect, but that's about it.
The Russian architect.
The moment when demand exceeds supply.
Sorry, something's just jumped into my mind. You know that story, which probably now might be hundreds of years old, but it actually only happened about 3 weeks ago in terms of when we recorded this podcast. How did they get a big, fit MI6 spy in a holdall? Well, how do you do that? I'm talking about the MI6 guy found in a
suppose
holdall.
the body is more malleable once
You can't get a person into a holdall. Except for some of those guys who...
I'm not sure they just
in
went
Time
off
Bandits.
and would slip him in and zip it up. I think there's a bit more...
But a
gruesome
holdall...
activity.
Do you know the size of the holdall?
Yeah, but there's no holdall bigger than like what they call a cricket coffin.
But the clue is in the name.
M for
It
midget.
holds all.
It can't hold bloody Chichester, can it?
Depends how big it is, I suppose.
I've
No,
seen some very
no.
big holdalls.
You couldn't get a man in a holdall.
Well, they
Not even Houdini.
I
could
can
From
get-
the army
Yeah.
surplus.
I can get
The
in
army
my Nike sports bag at home.
Yes. No,
I
you
can
can't.
get in. Yeah, I can.
No, you bloody
Yes,
can't.
I can.
Can you?
And next
You're
time,
6 foot how tall?
6'1".
How do you get in it?
I bet you, alright, I will bet you a gallon of beer. You can't get it, Matt.
I will
Hollick.
bring it next time we do
Okay.
one of these.
Okay.
I will bring the sports bag.
Right.
I can even zip it up.
How do
Have
get
you done
in
it?
then?
Yeah.
Why?
Why not?
How did you zip it
I
up?
was testing to see if it would fit an MI5 spy.
Have you done it in the last 3 weeks?
Maybe.
You see the way other people lead their
Like
lives.
your
you
ideal
just don't
Friday
know.
night in, Matt. It's like
How
a-
big was the holdall and how small was the man?
Well, he was a triathlete, and he looked as though he was quite big. So, anyway, I just asked the question.
But it could be, I mean, you can get a big gazebo in a holdall, can't you? I mean, it might be
A big gazebo.
Yeah.
What?
You can actually.
No, you can.
Because they come in holdalls.
Well, I used to
You don't
date a
know
girl
size
who worked at Heathrow Customs with the dog and all of that, and she said the strangest thing she's ever found was a suitcase with a stuffed antelope inside. Antelope size, probably of a human being, isn't it? Maybe a little smaller.
Slightly more awkwardly shaped, I would have
But you
said.
can bend the legs.
If you're dead anyway.
Yeah.
If you're dead.
You don't care.
Well, they're not sure he was, but anyway.
You can press
Too,
more.
can't you?
Yeah, I don't know. And stop. I just don't see. And why put him in a holdall? You see, what my point is this, and there is a point to this. Often, when you learn something, you discover that you know less than you did before you learned the thing that you've learned. Because everybody was saying that this guy had been found in a holdall, and I wondered, first of all, how can that be? Unless it was a particularly large holdall, in which case, what was that for? But the other question was why? You've killed somebody. I know. I'll hide him in a holdall. Or did he kill him by putting him in the holdall? And it's this that news often does this. The news on television in particular is bad at this. They tell you stuff, but they don't tell you the bits that you actually really kind of need.
Maybe holdall, maybe that's just a generic term because for some kind of thing that he's been stuffed in. Because you hear that quite a lot, don't you? Body was found in a holdall. No, I remember hearing. Yeah.
When was the last time?
Parts of a body.
Apart from David Carradine being found hung in a closet having a wank, that's about all I can
Was
remember.
that David Carradine from Kung Fu?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, in
That's
Thailand.
disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's the only other person I've heard of being dead in a small place.
That is disappointing.
When I was about 13 or 14, I went through a stage of wanting to know what my death posture would be, because we only ever get one death posture.
Yes.
And so, I'm not joking, this is probably as strange as I ever got. I used to sometimes fall down suddenly to see if I reconciled a grand corpse. Because in films, people get shot in the heart and they go down with their arms asplay and they lie on their back and they look magnificent. But when you see war photos, you see that people are all, they've got their left arm here, sort of like at a funny angle, and one of their legs is going out at left angles as well. And I thought, I don't want to die like that. I don't want to be seen like that in my, my death.
It might be a little more embarrassing to go with an airbag stuffed in your face. Maybe.
What?
With an airbag stuffed in your face, maybe in a car.
Designed to keep you alive.
I know they are, but if you went that way, that wouldn't be a very good posture. If you
No, you can't choose
had a
that.
choice of postures. It wouldn't be one.
But I'll
I
demonstrate.
always
See,
think it'd be worse to die choking on someone's member, to be honest with you. I prefer airbag to death by gay.
no, that's the build-up to the death, really, that's embarrassing there. But the point is this, I'm going to fall over now in the pub, okay, as if I died suddenly, okay? And so, okay, so I'm going to one side now. Describe it to somebody. I go over,
Side, on the floor.
Oh,
Prostrate.
Yeah, but you see, it's not good. It looks like you fit in a hole roll.
but
Actually, you know
you're
what?
sort of almost in the recovery position, though, really, aren't you?
Someone have
Yeah.
his watch.
It was a designer fall.
yeah.
It's recovery position
The
for.
point was, it wasn't attractive, was it?
No, but
The slumped,
unattractive.
but you're
and
talking about Hollywood death and...
yeah. Did you ever see that film El Cid? That's a way to die. El Cid is the guy who throws the Moors out of Spain, and he gets killed just before the last battle. But because he's such a talismanic leader, they prop him up on his horse. They tie him onto his horse, right? With it's got one of those saddles with a back, you know.
Yeah.
It looks like a small toilet. You know the sort of saddles I mean. And they just whack the horse, and the horse gallops towards all these Africans, right? With Charlton Heston sort of floppy on the top of it, all these ropes holding him on. But that was quite magnificent. That's a good way, isn't it? The samurai never allow themselves to die on their backs. They always have to die forward, because facing the enemy, and when they commit harakiri, they tuck their sleeves underneath their knees so that even when they're beheaded, they don't fall backwards, they fall forwards.
It's a good way to go, isn't it?
What's that? Beheaded?
No, but just like in battle. That's how
Yeah.
you want to go, isn't it? In
With
battle.
grace and dignity.
Yeah, not like, with tubes coming out, You
No.
want to go in like, in the
But
middle
if-
of something.
I'd like to go in the next battle, though. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm always so interested in tomorrow. I don't want to live forever. I just want one more day. Because life is that interesting, isn't it? There are things that are going to be resolved tomorrow. Even if you're listening to this in the year 3030, tomorrow's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, but I agree with you in 3030. I think everyone will be blobs. I think that's the way we're going. Non-functioning blobs.
I've heard that actually the way we're evolving, because our feet are getting harder, although our bodies will become softer, slimmer, grey-coloured, with black eyes and no nose, we'll have hoofed feet.
No nose.
Feet.
No nose, no flat nose, and hooves. So we'll look a little bit like some of those creatures that you get in Harryhausen films.
But then, where's the inspiration for those creatures come from? You see,
fawn.
That's the question that you must ask. The inspiration.
The centaur. The centaur.
The
fawn.
That would be a cool
I
thing.
did wonder if the foxes were taking over the planet.
They poo on our drive.
Did they?
Have you ever pooed in the outdoors?
Yes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, and
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
regular.
Well, you've never. Of course. Have you?
I have. I don't think I have. No, I don't think I have. Oh, I did once. Yes, when I was out walking the dog very early one morning, I was caught short. So.
Oh no, but that doesn't count.
Oh no, but hang on, this story ends with an because I did it and carried on walking. My dog ran back to it and ate it.
Oh,
I I told you it would end with a nerve.
Your dog?
My dog ate
Was this long ago, Tommy?
That's fair enough.
8 or 9 years
If I
ago.
was a dog, I might look forward to something like that.
My dog ate
owners
That's
too.
what dogs do.
Listen, no, there's so much cow crap in the field. She'd be as podgy as you now, Matt, that you've given up smoking. If she were to eat all the crap available, what was your crap in the?
No, I
park
was
then?
drunk.
Oh,
Well, and I was walking through Victoria Park in Hackney on my way back, cut through back to the house.
Was this
But-
after an emergency shag, or was this?
No, this is just after
No,
a
remember,
night.
the emergency shag goes to him.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how you got to play it. But no, I was just pissed, and I needed a dump.
So you
after
did
a
it
kebab.
where?
In
What?
Victoria Park, behind a tree.
Behind
even though
a
it
tree.
was about
You did go
11
behind
at
a
night,
tree,
and
yeah.
no one was there.
yeah.
But you have to go behind a tree. Yeah.
What did you use for wiping material?
Grass and leaves.
I wouldn't have thought grass.
Did you do a
would be
bum
any good.
shuffle on the grass?
No,
After
no,
grass.
just did it. But then that night, as I walked around the lake where the Krays buried all their murder victims in Victoria Park, 2 blokes came out. One punched me across the head and dragged me across the path and threw me in the lake. And I don't know whether that was for doing the poo or they just wanted me watch. Whether I'd really irritated the park's police.
Did they take your watch?
Yes, but they found the watch the next day
Where?
Right.
on the path. It wasn't a very good
But the
watch.
joke's on them, really, because you haven't washed your hands.
Thinking. But I certainly got cleansed after I'd had a
A
dip
doctor
in the
told
lake.
me you should wash your hands before you go to the toilet.
Why is that?
Because your hands are probably dirtier before you go to the toilet than afterwards. And you're touching an aperture of your body, which is one of the places... your germs...
But there's a barrier, surely.
You're more likely to catch a cold from shaking hands with somebody who's got a cold, or picking up a phone that they've held, and then going and having a Jimmy Riddle
Yeah.
with cold germs on your fingers. And also, men in toilets now are really... If there's a bloke having a tinkle and you go in and you're having a tinkle, the bloke who's having a tinkle in front of you, ahead of you, so he finishes first, will token wash his hands only because you've come in.
Because it's done the
If you hadn't
washing.
come in, he wouldn't token
I
wash
can't
his hands.
fucking bear that. Can
You know
I
what
swear?
I'm talking fucking
I
is
can't
exactly-
fucking bear. I've got this staff toilet at work, and I'm the only bastard that washes his hands. And so even after I've washed my hands, I have to use my sleeve to open the
Yeah.
bathroom door because all the other wankers don't wash their hands.
Yes.
And it's just so annoying.
Do you wash, Matt, after?
And
Depends
can't
on
bear it.
what.
I feel at the time.
Okay.
I mean, I buy
It really
soap
is by the moment.
for that toilet. Soap dispenser. I'm the only one that uses it. So if you
Fiona,
know
do
where
you-
your soap goes, it's in there. It's at work.
When you're in the ladies, do you see many women or girls who don't wash their hands afterwards? I would have thought more women would be a little bit more
No,
hygienically
but then you
conscious.
never know whether it's the same principle, whether any of those that are
Just
there
doing
wash
it 'cause you're
just
there.
because there's other people there.
Yeah.
But you don't
disgusting.
often see other
No.
ladies walk out without a...
No, but women tend to hover in the toilets for
Hover?
longer anyway, don't they?
Why is that? What is the hovering experience?
Well, retouching their makeup
Yeah.
and what have you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a work colleague.
Can't retouch
I
while
used
you're
to go.
hovering,
I used to
can
go for a drink with after work, and one day, shortly after we started this routine, she indignantly said to me when I came back from the toilet, she went, "You came back far too quickly. You haven't washed your hands." And I went to say, "Well, that's because you're such fascinating company. I couldn't bear to be away with you for a second longer." Yeah. So then, what used to happen was, from then on, for a couple of years, whenever I went to the loo and she was the person I was drinking with or in the same group, I'd have a wee, stand there, check my hair, have a look at the graffiti,
Hover around, kill some time.
look at my watch,
Have I been long enough?
and
Yeah.
go, right. And then I'd go back, and as I got back to her, I would just be finishing wiping non-existent tap
Accentuating the
water
wipe.
from my hands.
You're not allowed to hover in a male toilet, though.
No.
No.
That's just seriously socially wrong. Unless you're in, Earl's Court.
You're not allowed to what?
Hover in a man's
Hang
toilet.
around.
Hang around. You have to be busy.
Do they still have urinals
Yes.
in men's toilets? Right.
Well, what else would they have?
Well, I don't know. Ordinary sit-down toilets. What are
No one
Men
ever
don't
does.
sit- men don't
men
use
don't.
sit-down
don't
It's
toilets.
coming. It's coming.
No, but
it's
you don't
It
coming.
reminds me of the Borat scene where he's asking the bowling club member or owner whether he can shit in the urinals. And
That's
do
right.
you remember that scene?
So
No.
do you only
When would-
use
when-
then? Do you
no.
only use the sit-down toilets
But
when you want to?
Men
poo?
don't do poos in public toilets.
No.
Well,
Ever.
unless you're desperate and you need
Unless,
an emergency.
unless it's
poo.
an emergency poo,
Yeah.
but you don't do,
But
number
they still
twos.
have them in
They
their
have them
names.
because it's, you have to, but you do not do.
No,
No.
he's absolutely right.
But if I have to do one of those, I'll wash the sheet first.
Oh yeah, cover it with toilet paper.
Well, I'll get a little bit of soap.
Cover and
and-
squirt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can I just say it? Not me. I
Just go for it.
just sit down and
Sit
go.
down,
Yeah.
just go.
You know the
Oh,
guy.
I have to-
You know the guy who used to do the voice of Margaret Thatcher on Spitting Image. There was a bloke.
Not
used to do
personally.
that. No, but
Oh.
well, I do. He told me that he'd never ever had a shit outside his own home. He had never shat outside his own, using any toilet other than his own. And I said, "But Christ, supposing you're away for 2 days in a hotel," he said, "I don't have a shit." He wouldn't.
Funny
say
though
that.
how some people can be. I mean, I know somebody that never went to the toilet all day because wouldn't go to the toilet anywhere else other than at home.
A little backed up, eh?
But wouldn't you be offended if
No.
someone came round to your house and did, a full steamer in your toilet?
But where you got to go? You got to
Do
go.
you say something if you dinner party? You've really got to go. It's a stinker. Do you say something? Do you make a joke of it? It's your friend's house. You don't know them very well, perhaps.
You can't joke about. I don't
Oh,
want to
you
hear
just
about
do
it.
it.
I'm eating dinner at
No,
Fulham.
No,
I
what
mean,
you do,
like a-
what you do, if you've got to go and do a number 2, okay, and people will be aware that you've been away too long for a piss,
Hovering is the.
and therefore you must have a shit because you want to disguise the fact that you shit because nobody likes anybody to know that they shit. Right? Is you rush it. You rush your shit. You go in, close the door, trousers
little
down,
pushy.
trousers down, whoomph, shit, gone. None hanging around for the second coming.
Absolutely.
Thing,
Sound like a
right,
born-again
and
Christian,
out.
yeah.
And you come back and people think he had quite a long piss, but
Totally right.
maybe he read the graffiti. 'cause
But
it's
I don't get people who sit down for 10 minutes and have a shit. I don't understand. I don't want to hang around. I do it. I am quick normally when I'm at home.
Yeah, but this is super quick. This is visiting shit. This is
Yeah.
visitor shit. He's right.
Emergency visitor shit.
Yeah.
What's the etiquette, I suppose? Etiquette?
You're right, actually, that's so true. If I never hear anything else in my life, that is the truest statement I've ever heard.
Ah, well, the human condition, aren't we? Aren't we strange things? I mean, what's the point, eh? What's the fucking point? Why do we bother?
With what?
Oh, the whole thing.
Well, because,
You
why
got-
ask why?
Why ask why? Because I would like to know
Well, why?
if I'm the only one who thinks that it's all
Well,
ridiculous.
if you spend too much time asking why, you'll never do.
I haven't spent too much time asking why. I'm always interested in asking the question why because it is ridiculous.
Why
the person,
does the
the per-
sun rise to
look,
the
look,
east?
hang on. Why does the sun rise to the east? It doesn't. It's a concept. You don't know which way the universe is out. That's always annoyed me. That we're taught as children that the
Magnetic
North Pole is at the top and the South Pole is at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's assuming which way. That's assuming that we know which way the fucking universe is up,
Yeah.
and we don't. It's perfectly possible that we are on a vertical orbit round the sun. So, why does the sun rise in the east? It doesn't necessarily. You don't know that it does. In fact, you don't know anything.
I know
You
nothing,
can't prove anything.
But nobody does know anything.
No.
Well, as
So
you
why
said
do we
earlier,
bother?
the more you learn, sometimes the more you realise actually you know nothing.
That's exactly
fuck
it,
all.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
maybe
quite
that's
delicious.
one of the biggest truths in.
Journey towards the absolute certainty of total and utter ignorance.
Once you,
Fantastic.
maybe there's a little irony in that. Once you realise you actually know nothing, really, you've learnt a little bit.
What?
Well,
Possibly.
supposing somebody is listening to this in the year 3030. Oh, that's a bit Zager and Evans, isn't it? In the year...
5036.
What?
5036
Right,
is when I
5036.
think we'll shift.
Right, okay. Why is that then? Why that specific time,
Well,
Nostradamus?
I just think that that's about when we'll
Yes.
shift and we'll notice that, finally that it's all nonsense and, all of everything that we've done in the last 5,000 years in a capitalist society, which I am a great part of, is all nonsense. And really, we should just be born and bliss out for the rest of our
Yes,
lives.
we all know that. We should all be hedonists. We should all be Epicureans.
Yes.
And
But Epicureans weren't very popular in their day.
they were with themselves.
Yes.
They were very happy
They were
and contented
unpopular.
and ate too much and just fed their senses.
They were Socratic.
Sex
Most of
and
them were
food
murdered.
and drink and what?
Most of them were murdered.
But you see, if they're looking back, if somebody is listening to this in the year, did you say 50-35?
36.
50-36, was it February-ish?
Well,
I see it's
I'll
February.
let you choose the month.
Okay. They'll think we were so stupid because of what we do. They'll be going... They'll talk like that. And
Their hooves would clatter.
I think we're savages.
Fucking primitives, listen to them, they're so stupid. They make themselves unhappy. Deliberately. What's the fucking point of that?
sound like the Smash advert now. But they will, because we don't actually attend to the things that make us happy. We know what they are, but we don't hardly ever do them.
We don't have a chance.
No, exactly.
What chance have you got? You know, I know what makes me happy.
What?
Well, Fiona, the children, and just relaxing my heartbeat and being at one with everything without sounding like a hippie. But that's what makes me happy, right? I don't need TV, I don't need, anything else.
Yeah,
I just
but
need to pretend that-
what I've noticed down the donkey's years is how much people love their problems.
Oh, yeah, but you have to be a certain type. You have to be a stress head to love a problem.
We
But
we
most
do.
people probably
we do.
are, I think.
We do. We wake up in the morning
They're married
and we
to their
don't count our
problems.
blessings.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
go straight to fulminating. Good word. Ooh, about our problems.
Oh, I know a few depressive people, one or two perhaps clinically depressed, and I once dated a psychologist, and she often said that a lot of depressives, you know, they actually embrace their problems. They're actually scared to let go of them or try and work them out. They actually keep hold of them. It's like a comfort blanket. There's a certain level of a measure of predictability and security in knowing what your problems are, even if they are driving you to a very kind of maudling state of mind. I don't know.
Do you have any problems?
getting very serious
I don't
now.
have any problems.
No,
Problems
we
you've
haven't
got.
it's
really
relative.
got problems. The happiest people I've ever seen are the Ethiopians when I went to do some filming during the second of the famines that they had there. These were people who had serious amounts of nothing. They were more contented than the people that I can see through the pub window striding around with all their wherewithal, even if most of it is on a Buckley card. That was eloquent. No, what I was going to say is I got Fiona.
No, I was just going to
dear.
say that I think it's all too easy to get caught up in our problems, you know, and take things for granted. Take tomorrow for granted. You know, I don't think it's until you've, you know, something happens in your life when you suddenly realise that, you know, tomorrow doesn't always come. You know, without wanting to kind of change the mood.
I'm glad you brought that up actually, because I can't take my eyes off Jason's tattoo.
I'm going to ask you what your tattoo says and what it means.
Well, little Ed, that's our son, that didn't quite make it, but you know, so just celebrating him in every way that we can, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, it's one
What's his
thing
name?
that, yeah,
it's a name we gave him anyway, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, it was 11 weeks ago.
Is it? No, probably.
11 weeks ago, yes. He went to sleep and didn't wake up again. And it's really kind of taught me that life is so, so precious. You know, we go through life just taking everything for granted. You know, I so took him for granted. I never thought for a minute that he wouldn't make it, that I wouldn't get to look into his eyes. You know, just something that never ever, just never, you know, not in my wildest dreams did I imagine that would ever happen. And then all of a sudden, in a day, everything suddenly changes, and you just realise how precious life actually is, and all the stuff that we moan about. God, I'm moaned about. You know, it's just so not important. It really isn't. Still moan. It's really not important. You know, because we have to just appreciate what we've got and the people around us, and just remember, you know, how lucky we are to be here. You know, because there are things like little things like the fact that, you know, he never got to be a man. You know, he never got to be, you know, be a grown up in this world, and I just think that's so unfair, so cruel. You know.
My favourite toast is always absent friends.
Yes.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Ed.
but you know,
Cheers.
it's I think, you know,
Eddie and all our absent
empty,
friends.
empty. You know, I don't mean that on a kind of sad, you know, depressive note or anything. Just that
No.
we should all sit back and go, God, we're lucky. We're all, you know, we're all here, we're all breathing, we're all, you know, having a great life, because it is a great life. You know, for the most part, you know, it's what we make of it, isn't it? You know.
Thanks. We'll talk more about these things in some more podcasts. Brilliant. Thanks, everybody. How can people contact you if they're listening to this and don't know how to contact?
The blog,
Yeah.
tommy-boyd.co.uk.
Yeah.
iTunes, search for Tommy Boyd Pubcast, and enjoy.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Matt, for doing the Sun crossword. How many clues you got left?
I've only got a couple now.
Well, let's put the clue out there, and none of us will try it because it.
Okay, pottery substance, 7 letters, begins with a C.